your adult life emotionally will look very much like your childhood life, and you'll just keep recreating the same the same internal environment. The external environment just might look a little different, and unless you learn how to change that. And so that's what HeartMath does, is it teaches people how to raise their emotional baseline. So you can go from, a person that's experiences fear and anxiety regularly in different forms, um, to being a more grateful person. And so you really can change what you experience externally through that practice. But what I have found is that if you don't practice, you will actually keep re-experiencing that same, childhood state, unfortunately.
Welcome back to Cosmic Conversations, where we journey deep into the realms of the heart, the consciousness, and soul evolution. Today, I'm honored to be speaking with Kyle Boyd, co-founder of Heart Coherence Collaborative and a HeartMath Certified Trainer. Together with Leah Rush, Kyle created the Heart Coherence Collaborative and its signature 30-day Heart Coherence Challenge, a global heart-centered fellowship that has welcomed over 50,000 participants. Through simple yet profound daily practices like heart-focused breathing, Carl helps people shift from stress to calm, anxiety to gratitude, and disconnection to deep reconnection, both within themselves and within the collective heart. His work bridges science and spirituality, showing how the power of coherence can transform not only personal well-being, but the very fabric of our shared human experience. So if you're ready to learn how to live heart first and help humanity heal through coherence, this conversation is for you. So welcome to you today, Kyle. It's lovely to see you. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for that warm introduction. I appreciate that a lot.
Ah, you're very welcome. I'm curious to find out how you actually, got started with all of this. Could you share your personal journey from struggling with anxiety to discovering heart coherence as a transformative path?
Yeah, the absolute truth is my journey. Ooh, it always gives me a little something just going back there because it was really dark, and it's good for me to go back there. But rough childhood, uh, had an abusive home, um, family members I was scared of. And so I started learning how to escape at a really young age to the best of my ability. And that started with basketball for me and just addiction in general. I would just do things in loops to try to occupy my mind. And, I played basketball for 13 hours a day, from the age of 5 to 18. So I got lost on the basketball courts. But then, high school kicked in and there was different things happening in my life, more trauma at home, and I decided to drown out all the pain I was feeling with alcohol. And when I got the ability to do that, at first it felt so amazing. It was like for the first time I escaped into oblivion, and I have a very unique reaction to alcohol where I want more of it. And the next 10 years to 15 years were just a giant blur that ended in madness. Everyone in my life was affected by my addiction. Um, Flames everywhere, the job, the girl, everything just up in absolute flames. And I was at this point where I learned that I couldn't drown out my emotions with alcohol, and I couldn't run and just escape the rest of my life on a basketball court. And so I started reaching out for help. And that was the first thing that helped, like really was the biggest difference was I reached the bottom and I started asking people for help. And The first healing aspect for me was community, just not being alone in everything I was experiencing. And the more I surrounded myself with other people, good people, community, they started to love me up before I could love myself. And that went on for a while. And I started to really feel better about myself, got connected with a power greater than myself. And then somebody gave me Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural. And in Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, he talks about how you can go from a fearful person to a grateful person through the practice of heart coherence alone. And so I wanted to find ways to achieve that state. I'd been living my whole life addicted to fear, really, just pretty much a walking fear junkie. And so I gave it a try. I bought HeartMath's Inner Balance, which is a device that helps you achieve heart coherence. And I practiced every day for 10 minutes a day, started out, then an hour, and then 2 hours. And then I really started to feel something. And it was something I hadn't felt in a while. And what I can say is I remember having so much anxiety. And then all of a sudden, I was practicing heart coherence and I was listening to a song and I was looking at nature and I just felt tears for everything I was observing, happy tears. And it was something I hadn't experienced in so long. And so from that point forward, I kind of just made it my mission to find ways to help other people achieve that state and also find ways to help myself achieve more of what I was just experiencing. And so that has really brought me on this amazing ride that keeps getting better and better and more amazing. And because that's the power of the heart, the more we let it expand in our life, the more beautiful magic and healing we experience.
100%. It's so wonderful to hear you being so vulnerable with all of this as well, because a lot of men find it really hard to even talk about any of this sort of stuff. They bottle it all up or they never speak about it all. And of course, they get stuck in those patterns like he described of, avoidance or, escapism. And I feel like I've been through, a lot of that sort of stuff myself, and actually still sometimes turn to those tactics as a way of coping and surviving. And I think that, do you find that you're never really done with this? It's like it's got to be an ongoing practice.
Well, yeah, and I don't think of it as a bad thing anymore. Like there was a period in my life where I was probably like, damn, I'm gonna have to do all this stuff just to stay well. But now, because I understand the discipline and how well I can become from the discipline, it's almost like I'm so grateful that I am an alcoholic or an addict because through the community it's provided me, through all the different people that have come into my life, all the different opportunities. On top of that, the service. So one of the things about the programs is that they're built around serving other people. And so like I'm now living a life that I never ever could have lived on my own. And so it's not like, I'm something I'm going to have to do. It's something I get to do and I'm blessed to do it. And I love doing it. I wake up every day and I go to my meeting down in the harbor, my AA meetings. I have men's groups, and I'm just surrounded with people that really pull me up. Um, and I'm blessed in that. And one thing I just want to circle back on what you said is the vulnerability. And, it just still brings me so much like heaviness to talk about these times in my life. But I'll go as deep as you want to go, because there's darkness that's still in me. And I don't want to run from that anymore. It's like the dark, one of my favorite singers says, the dark within the dark is where we find our light. The fruit became the doorway, and now it's open wide. And the fruitful darkness, it's all around us. So going into that dark, I think, is real where we really heal.
I would be interested for you to go deeper into that darkness if you are comfortable sort of
Yeah.
just sharing a bit more about it, because I think that many people, and men in particular at the moment, are really struggling to even tap into it, to even know what it is. How does it manifest within you, and what types of behaviors do you find? it displays.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been all the things, you know. Selfishness is the root of my disease. So basically, fear, resentment, dishonesty, that's from like a large perspective. How I live my life, self-will run riot, egomaniac with an inferiority complex. But then, like, to boil down to what it really looks like in my life is it's just like I'm so caught up in myself. And I am so worried about how the world affects me. And I'm trying to control everything. You know, that's really the biggest thing for me is control. I'm trying to control everyone and everything. Every fear that I have, I'm trying to prevent from actually playing out. And how I do that can be extreme. It can look vicious. It can look abusive. Uh, and I can tornado through the closest people to me. Um, and it's really sad. And, you know, I don't know if that's deep enough. Maybe I can give specific examples, but when I'm using alcohol, it means that I could be lying to my girlfriend who absolutely loves me and creating a fight so I can leave and go get more alcohol and just come back and make up to her like it never happened and just completely lying, you know, to the people around me. And then when they question me about it, I make them feel bad, like it's their fault, you know? That's my darkness. And take that and magnify it by a million. And that's where I've been. And the reason I'm able to say that in peace is because I've come to understand that it's not my fault that I am this way or was this way, like because I was born into this life with this trauma. But it's like one of those things where it's like you're a victim, right? And then when you learn about it, you don't become a victim anymore if you continue to act that way. And so for me, I've literally been willing to go to any lengths, and I can say that to change who I am, to change who I've been in the past, to try to find ways to get out of it. And, you know, it's a blessing because that darkness has brought me to a place where I have so much joy and peace and love in my life. And that's not who I am today. I'm somebody who is like you wouldn't even, you know, that's not who I am at all, but that is who I was. And so if you're listening and you're struggling, you know, there's some things that I'd like to believe that if you do every day and you really surrender, you don't have to be that person anymore. And it takes work, but yeah. I don't know if that's deep enough. I'm still willing to go deeper if you ask me the right questions.
Okay, so I guess my question next, as a follow-up to that, would be like, for what purpose do you feel like you were doing that?
What purpose? So it's all fear, self-centered fear. And so uh basically just not being okay with myself, you know, really boils down to childhood, like probably not getting the right love and attention from my parents and just how that manifested outwardly, you know, seeking that love, forcing that love from other people, and not really just knowing how to love myself, you know? And so I've learned that I don't need mom or dad's approval anymore. I can get it right in my heart space today. Um, and I think, you know, connecting with a power greater than myself has also been something that's given me infinite strength. But without that, uh, you know, that other person's always still right there, I believe.
Hmm. 100%.
Yeah.
It's almost like, the shadow is always there, isn't it? It doesn't matter how fast you run. It's always attached to the bottom of your
Yeah.
feet. And I think a lot of people who, aren't even aware of their shadows. Um,
Yeah.
they're just playing out all of these patterns subconsciously, and they're creating that chaos within the life. But I guess what I'd be interested in finding out from you next, Kyle, is you talk about connection to the heart.
Yeah.
And it's such a term that's used so frequently within the wellness industry. And what does it actually mean? Because I mean, I'm always telling my clients, it's like getting out of your head, going into your heart, but what does it actually really mean? What is it like to actually live there, and how do you find a place where you can be stable within that environment?
Yeah, so taking it back to Joe Dispenza's book, he talks about think feel loops. And so I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, Hayden, but basically, when I was younger, I was thinking a lot of fearful thoughts, and that was causing me to release the chemicals of fear into my body. And so now I have the chemicals of fear in my body and I'm feeling more fearful. And because I'm feeling more fearful, I think more fearful thoughts, which causes me to release more of the chemicals of fear into my body, which causes me to think more fearful thoughts, which causes me to release more chemicals of fear into my body. And so basically, we get in this cycle of think feel loops where we're walking around and we're almost literally like addicted to finding ways to justify the feeling in our body. And so for me, living from the heart isn't like just this woo woo thing. It can be that. But when I'm talking about living from the heart, I'm actually trying to embody the emotions that actually heal me. So all emotions fall into one of two categories, either depleting or renewing. And so the hormones of stress, as a lot of people talk about, those all deplete our energy. Whenever we're experiencing those are depleting our energy. We're not thinking the right way. We're in dis-ease. And so for me to live from the heart means to find ways to start experiencing the emotions that allow me to heal, where I'm a very productive, loving, caring member of society. And so I had to train myself how to do that. And similarly to thinking and feeling the fearful thoughts, I had to start practicing thinking and feeling grateful thoughts and start really tapping into that emotion of gratitude, appreciation, bliss, joy, love. And the more started practicing that, the more it expanded in my life. And I've become somebody that's almost like, how you can have panic attacks. I used to have those, but now I can have love attacks because I practice gratitude so much that there'll be times where I'm just overwhelmed in joy. And so to live from the heart for me means to make a commitment to try and live your life in a healthy way where you're helping other people, you're embodying emotions that are healthy for your environment, and not all the time because obviously, we struggle and we're all going to be fearful at times. But it's just to make a commitment to be living a healthy, productive life where you're not hurting anybody and you're helping others.
Hmm. That's beautiful. And I think that it's such a healthy decision to make, to be living with an intention of being of service and not living in
Mm.
fear. And fear is such an illusionary emotion anyway, isn't it? Because it's just false expectations appearing real. And
Yeah.
I think when you break it down and just realize that none of it's true,
Mm.
it helps you to get beyond it. That whole sense of catastrophization, I totally identify with.
Mhm.
I still do that now, actually, myself. I find myself looking for the worst possible scenario. And
Mm.
of course, it then, if it continues, it shows up in your life as a
Yeah.
reflection of your reality. And so,
Yeah.
being mindful of those, those thought patterns can stop it in its tracks. But can you explain what makes heart coherence, in simple terms? How is it different from traditional meditation or mindfulness?
Yeah, so when you breathe rhythmically through your heart and you access elevated emotions like say gratitude, appreciation, joy or bliss, 1,200 biochemical changes take place in the body that promote growth and repair. And so when you think about different meditations, you're sitting there, you're getting present. That's phenomenal, and I do that, and I think that's actually so beneficial. But heart coherence for me is about the vibration. And so when we change our vibration, we change our entire life. And so basically, when you practice um, changing your emotion, you're changing your frequency. And so, like, everyone's talking about vibrating at a higher frequency. Like, it's very fascinating to study how the different emotions vibrate. Like, appreciation vibrates a little higher than gratitude. Wholeness is the highest vibrating frequency. Lust is the lowest vibrating frequency. But when you can start actually tapping into these different frequencies through practice to just change your vibration, you'll start to notice your entire life changes. And so, in simple terms, it changes your entire physiology. But if you want to go to the woo-woo side of things, like obviously it's not woo-woo. When we change our vibration, everything around us changes. And so, you know, Joe Dispenza talks about how a clear intention plus an elevated emotion is the quickest way to manifest anything in your life. And so that elevated emotion, that's what coherence is. It's teaching yourself how to elevate your emotion. And when we elevate our emotions, we start to draw in an entirely new reality because the higher we raise our vibration, the more our energy influences matter. It influences other energy to collapse into matter.
So you're talking about sort of quantum physics fundamentally. It's a
That's
way
what
of,
it is.
yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
way of jumping through timelines into the highest version of yourself very much, very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. And so this is what's crazy is like, uh I don't sit here and say I'm above anybody or know anything, like crazy or I'm like a monk or anything like that. But anyone who actually observes my life will see that I am very consistently jumping into different dream lives regularly, relatively easily. And it's pretty amazing. And it's magical. And really, the only thing that I'm doing is just practicing heart coherence regularly and setting my goals. And anybody that I know who has done that in their life is living the same situation where it's just they're hopping from dream life to dream life. And it's fascinating. Some people just do the heart coherence and then they don't set the goals. And then the universe will just bring you whatever it's meant to bring you that matches your frequency, which is also amazing. But um, yeah, it's hard to explain heart coherence. And the thing that's so cool is because we do these heart coherence challenges where we get thousands of people around the world to practice heart coherence for a specific duration of time. I always get these emails from people that finally feel it and they're finally experiencing what I'm talking about. And they're like, oh, I get what you meant all that time about living your dream life or magnetizing things really easily. It's it's amazing.
It's a form of quantum jumping, isn't it? In a way, it's great to hear that you've mastered that technique to such a fantastic ability. The 30-day heart coherence challenge sounds great because I often tell my students it takes 30 days to make a habit and to break a habit. Is that why you choose to do it for 30 days?
Well, yeah, so how it started originally was when I was learning heart coherence. I was having all these amazing things happen in my life, and I wanted to find ways to hold myself accountable and achieving this state even more. So I reached out to a few of my friends and I was like, hey, Joe, hey, Sarah, I'm going to send you guys a heart coherence meditation every day for 30 days. Just try it and let's see what happens. And over the course of those 30 days, they didn't have any background in heart coherence. They were doing breath work and different things like this. They were experiencing something they had never experienced before. It's an energy that's so amazing. The heart wells up and it just penetrates everything in its path. And when you do this long enough, everything becomes different. And we noticed our relationships were different. Like we were interacting differently, we were communicating differently. And at the end of the 30 days, there was no doubt that we had to do this again. And so the group of five became 50, and then it became 5,000. And now, our YouTube channels, it's well above, I think it's at 130,000, but it just keeps growing and growing. And the more people are doing this challenge, it's amazing.
It is amazing. Yeah, I was looking at your YouTube channel yesterday,
Yeah.
and I thought you got more like 250,000
Oh,
people.
yeah.
It's
We're
huge.
moving quick. Yeah.
It's great,
Yeah.
and you're really speaking to some amazing people as well. like Amanda Ellis. I love her, and
Yeah.
the that beautiful astrologer Pam Gregory. She's gorgeous as
Yeah.
well, and you're working with some really top-notch people, and I think that it just demonstrates how you're sort of transcending the matrix, and sort of aligning with the vibration of the souls on the planet that really are resonating the truth.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful to see. I've always had very good results with breath work. And
Nice.
we host retreats for ladies in Perth, and we often bring in a breathwork practitioner. And the first time I ever did that, I couldn't believe the range of emotions I went through, from sobbing like a baby to laughing
Yeah.
hysterically. But
Yeah.
it was actually something um, it was almost like addictive. Everybody within the group
Mm.
started
Mm.
feeling the same emotions at the same time, and I was like, well, how's this even possible? Like everyone was laughing and everyone was crying, and it was like we're only breathing, So I definitely think it's a positive way of tapping into, how who you really are, at a soul level, so that you can make better decisions for yourself. The techniques themselves, then, could you just explain? Is it a similar technique to holotropic breath work, or is it very different?
Well, there's different techniques that HeartMath has, but very basically, it is just breathing through your heart at a rhythm that's comfortable for you, a pace and a rhythm that's comfortable for you, and then accessing an elevated emotion. So you could say, okay, now, basically start breathing in and out through your heart, and then think about something in your life that you're grateful for, or think about a place in your life that puts you in a state of ease. So, whereas breath work, the breath gets you into the state, here we focus on actually trying to get you to feel the emotion and creating the feeling. And the cool thing about that is once you can start actually creating a feeling on your own, it becomes like a muscle. And so I've taught this to the Boston Police Department, the Boston Fire Department, who actually have to go into fires and trauma situations. Like, they've seen some things. And basically, when every time they get a call, their amygdala's hijacked, And so that breathing technique actually restores cortical function. It's one of those 1,200 biochemical changes I was talking about. But basically, Neville Goddard, the feeling is the secret. When you can teach people just directly to tap into the feeling, it can change anything. And the more you can expand that in your life, it just gets so amazing.
So the feelings, what types of feelings are you talking about specifically?
Mm. So most people, we start them with appreciation, care, or compassion, because those are the easiest to feel without bias. And when I say bias, it's like, if you tell somebody to think about someone they love, for example, that might bring up a fight they just had with that partner, you know? So we start people out with appreciation because it's very easy for people to tap into appreciation. And appreciation is actually very high vibration. And so, breathing rhythmically through the heart, you can actually just start there. When you breathe rhythmically through the heart, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, your parasympathetic and your sympathetic come in balance. And what I've found is when you do this for prolonged periods of time, it like creates a softening around the heart. The elevated emotions become a lot easier to experience. And so there's a lot of people who've done heart coherence that just say, my heart's blocked off. I can't feel that. I wasn't able to experience anything doing that. And it's just kind of like it takes practice. And for me, it took a while. I didn't feel anything the first, 2 hours I tried heart coherence, but I finally broke through, and just rhythmic breathing through the heart started to allow the emotions to just come to me. I just started feeling gratitude. I just started feeling joy. But the emotions that I'm experiencing, that I'm talking about, are specifically the renewing, regenerative emotions, like I was saying. There's the hormones of stress that deplete our energy. There's renewing emotions that add to our energy. And those are the ones that I'm talking about. Joy, love, care, compassion, appreciation, bliss. Um, yeah. Courage. Courage is a good one too.
Yeah. So it's not about revisiting old shame or guilt or grief.
No, 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 because they've actually found that, you can rewire your brain just by experiencing the positive emotions, not the positive, the renewing emotions, we'll say.
Hmm. I love that. And I think that's really important as well because there's a lot of fear around personal development if it means, that the old wounds have to be reopened. And if it's just a matter of, okay, just pivoting into the higher vibrational frequency emotions like appreciation, then
Yeah.
it becomes an exciting journey, And I think
Yeah.
this type of thing needs to be, an enjoyable process because otherwise people don't commit to it, do they?
No, and there's ways to make it a lot of fun. Like my friends and I, every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, so in 30 minutes from now, we meet on Zoom and we do Heart Coherence, but it's a fun one by Tony Robbins where he does breath work first and he relaxes you. And then at the end of it, you're pulling emotions into your heart and you're screaming yes. So I'll say, think about a moment in your life you're grateful for. Reach out, pull it into your heart and say, yeah. And by the end of it, you're just pulling in emotion after emotion, just yelling, yes, yes, thinking about your dream life, thinking about something you're proud of, thinking about, all these different things. And so you can take it higher and higher the more you open up that heart and really start warming it up and expanding it. And I would just encourage anyone listening to just play with that, and if you need help, you can email me at coherencetrainers@gmail.com. I like to just help people for free to try to get into that heart.
That's beautiful. It's such a brilliant thing that you're doing, and it's definitely something that sounds really appealing to me right now. I must admit,
Yeah.
because I think I'm going through a phase at the moment where I'm feeling really out of touch with my emotions, and the
Mm.
only thing that seems to inspire any form of emotion within me is if my dog gets sick or something, and then I start like blubbing, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why is that? Where's the other fun stuff? Where's the laughter? I remember when I was a
Yeah.
student, I used to laugh and, until I was crying. And, it's been years since I've really had a right good old laugh, apart from obviously in breath work. That's the only time I've been able to really tap into it. So,
Mm.
and that numbness is awful. It's like a state of isolation that you feel.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm feeling anyway, from what you're saying, it's a way of finding the support, not only, within yourself, but within the community. So for someone who's new to heart coherence, well,
Yeah.
could you explain, what happens within the community, this sort of collective activation and heart-centered
Yeah.
support? How does that benefit them, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, in general, community is just so important because, like, kind of taking it back to what I was saying at the beginning, just like that shadow me wants to be alone, you know? And when I'm alone, I'm being very selfish, probably caught in myself. Just, not necessarily being alone causes you to be selfish, but for me, isolation is a very scary, dark place for me. And so we are still like learning how to expand our community. But basically, what we're doing right now is whenever we host these heart coherence challenges, everyone comes together and we celebrate by doing a heart coherence meditation every day. And there's thousands of people doing this. We're all chatting about it, we're communicating. And then the new thing that we're doing is every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I'm opening up my Zoom room, and I can send you that Zoom link in case anyone wants to join to just do a heart coherence meditation. And it's free. And it's just basically every Thursday, 8 p.m. If you want to do a heart coherence meditation, hop on Zoom with me. I'll find my favorite one on YouTube and we'll do it together. And then we'll share a little bit about what came up. And I've been doing sharing circles for a while. So I was mentioning every Tuesday at 8 o'clock, my friends and I, we dive into the heart, right? And, like some days I'm really stressed out. Like today, just a little bit of anxiety, it is what it is. And then, but when we all come together, I'll observe at the very beginning of the meeting, there's different energies. People are stressed about this or whatever. Somebody might have had a great day. But when we go into the heart and come out and then start to share, it's a different energy. And the conversations are so much more deep and heart centered. They're coming from a higher consciousness. We're harmonized, we're synchronized. We are very compassionate, aware of each other. It's like we become one energy. And if you haven't experienced it, I'd highly encourage you to come on Thursday night or Tuesday night and learn how to get in the heart. And right now, one of the coolest things about our community, and I love our community so much, but it's called the Heart Coherence Collaborative because it's not mine. It's not mine. It's not Leah's. It's not everybody. It's not anybody's. It's everybody's. And all of our interviews right now that we do as part of the Heart Coherence Collaborative, how I met Pam Gregory, how I met Lee Harris, how I met Daryl Anka, is out of emailing our community and asking them who they recommend. And whoever they recommend, no matter who it is, we reach out and we say, we want to interview you. And that has been the most amazing thing in the world. And now what we're doing is we're reaching out to our community and saying, hey, how do you want us to build this community? However you want us to build this community, we'll build this community. And that actually, that model has come from Doc Childre, who's the founder of HeartMath. So if you look up HeartMath, HeartMath is the organization out there that's doing incredible work, educating people on heart coherence, teaching people how to achieve heart coherence, to train other people in heart coherence. Doc Childre is the founder, and he set up HeartMath so that no one would really ever know that he was the man behind it. And so he's never done an interview. He's this man who just he's just I've met him. It's an honor to meet Doc, but he's this beautiful heart-centered being who set up HeartMath to abide by the qualities of the heart.
It's beautiful. That's so, so beautiful. And it's so interesting that he's so out of his ego that he doesn't want to be included, in the accolades of what he's set out to achieve. And that's
Yeah.
definitely something that you want to follow, isn't it? So what inspired
Yeah.
you to include guest speakers and coaches and healers in your challenges, growing from one
Well,
person's practice to like a global movement?
yeah. It actually started. I had created a whole other fellowship called the Quantum Healing Collective, and I'd been going to specific fellowships um, to get well, and I realized that some of them were still vibrating at the frequency of fear, and so I wanted to come up with a new format. And not only that, but my mom had been reaching out to me and she was like, Kyle, I see all this tremendous change you've made from going to these fellowships. I would love a fellowship, but I'm not an alcoholic or an addict. So I wanted to create something new that was open to anybody who had a desire to grow. And so my friends and I, we created this thing called the Quantum Healing Collective. And basically, we wanted to create this new fellowship for anyone in the world that just had a desire to grow. And so we started the meeting off with a heart coherence meditation to raise the frequency and harmonize the group. And then we just invited a new speaker each week, somebody who could share something that would promote growth in the group. And so we started off local and we'd invite like a yoga instructor one week to come share. And then the next week, somebody who guided a meditation, just anyone in the community. And the group started off with 5 people. It went to 50 real quick. And then when COVID happened, um, we went on Zoom. And instead of me reaching out to local instructors, I started reaching out to Bruce Lipton, Krishna Das, people all over the world, Greg Braden, to see if they'd come to this fellowship that we just made. And they said yes. And so that took off. The Quantum Healing Collective took off. And then at some point, I just decided to merge the Heart Coherence Collaborative and the Quantum Healing Collective. And so I had already been interviewing guest speakers. And so what I did was now, as a part of the 30-day Heart Coherence Challenge, I just interviewed the speakers as part of this event. And now our interviews, the one unique thing about the Heart Coherence Collaborative, and I don't even know if you know this, Hayden, but when we're interviewing people on Zoom, our collaborative is there. So, like, you and I are doing an interview right now, super cool. When I'm doing interviews on my challenge, we typically have 200 to 300 people there on Zoom watching the interview. And most people who on our YouTube channel watching our interviews, they don't even know that. They don't even know that that was taking place on Zoom with hundreds of people there. But anybody that wants to be a part of that can. And it's always a collaboration. And our interview questions come from our audience.
Hmm. Beautiful. That's a great way of engaging people so they feel included and seen and heard, which is so important. So,
Yeah,
how do you see individual coherence ripple out to influence collective consciousness and global well-being?
it's pretty uh, simple. It's just if you just focus on being coherent, you will affect everyone in your life. And I started teaching my roommate this, and he just walks around town, and now he just lights people up. So when you get heart centered, you can't help but affect everyone around you. Because the heart, like I said, it penetrates anything, even steel. And so, they've done these studies where three people in a room have gotten coherent together, and a fourth person walks in the room who was not coherent, and that person automatically gets entrained to the heart rhythm of the other three. So, it's that person automatically got coherent just because the other people around them were coherent. And so that's how it can play out in your home, in your neighborhood. And if you want to take it larger than that, the HeartMath Institute is actually studying how large scale groups coming together and doing heart coherence is affecting the electromagnetic fields of the earth and the heart rhythms of everybody on the planet. And there's really fascinating science that shows when we come together and do this, it does actually affect all of those things. And so I would like to believe, and I think the science actually shows this, that if enough of us do come together, it would almost be like in training the planet in a weird way to higher frequencies. And there is a tipping point. There's a thing called the Maharaji effect, where a certain amount of people come together, it will influence the entire planet. And so, yeah, anyone interested, you should look at HeartMath. Some of the studies they have spectrometers around the world that are measuring these things, and they've been able to show that when people are meditating in a certain place, it's influencing people all over the world.
It's so beautiful, and it's that collective energy of the galactics, really.
Yeah,
It feels very extraterrestrial, some of the stuff you're talking about. Because when you think about how the Arcturians or some of the Andromedan Pleiadians
yeah,
communities, connect with each other, they're very much heart to heart, and they communicate telepathically. Do you
yeah.
believe that that is the future for humanity?
Yeah, yeah, actually, I think it already exists. I think we already all have those capabilities. It's just that we're not open to them. And I've had those experiences being telepathic. When you're in the heart space, those things come natural, just synchronistic, like lifestyle. You'll be walking and you'll think of somebody and they text you, and just like harmonious all day. So I think, through all the different extraterrestrials that I've observed and their messages, the one thing I hear them say when asked, what is the funniest thing you think about humans? Or the biggest message you would even want to have for humans? What I hear so many of them saying is that you have no idea how powerful you already are. You are limiting yourself. It's like a 10-foot person trying to fit themselves in a 1-foot box every day.
Hmm.
And so it's really like we're already capable of all those things. It's just when we're living in our highest and best and we're raising our vibration, all those things are possible right now. We're already in the new earth. The new earth is already here. It's not something that's coming. It's something that already exists, and we all can tap into it. And I think the heart is the way for us all to tap into the new earth right now.
100%. I remember reading a book by Drunvalo Melchizedek, Living in the Heart. And that
Yeah.
was such an inspirational book for me. It was when I was studying the color mirrors. And
Nice.
it was the first time I'd heard, about the concept of, how it can literally help you to pivot and align with New Earth. And,
Yeah.
find a way of permanently maintaining that frequency. But what I've found for me specifically is that I tend to dip in and out of it. So
Yeah.
I'll have months where I'm there and I'm like,
Mm.
sailing high, and then I'll something will happen and I'll be like, oh my God, what's just happened? And I'm like, how do I find my way back there again? Do
Yeah.
you find that that's common, like a common hurdle for people
Yeah.
when they begin
Yeah.
this practice?
Oh, it's common for everybody, and most people don't know this, but when they get to a certain age, you've established emotional baseline. So it's basically the sum average of your emotional experiences. It's like your frequency average, but it's way more complex than that. But basically, you will live your life experiencing that emotional baseline over the course of a month. That's what your experience will be. It'll just look different each month. And so there's ways to change your emotional baseline. But what I'm trying to say, because it's kind of complex, is basically your adult life emotionally will look very much like your childhood life. And you'll just keep recreating the same the same internal environment. The external environment just might look a little different, and unless you learn how to change that. And so that's what HeartMath does, is it teaches people how to raise their emotional baseline. So you can go from, a person that experiences fear and anxiety regularly in different forms, um, to being a more grateful person. And so you really can change what you experience externally through that practice. But what I have found is that if you don't practice, you will actually keep re-experiencing that same, you know, childhood state, unfortunately.
Hmm. That's it. It's like going back to the wounded aspects of the inner child that formulated the beliefs about
Yeah.
themselves, usually, and that becomes the reality reflection of the world around them. It's
Yeah.
funny because I was finding it difficult sleeping last night, and as I was lying there in that sort of semi-conscious state, I sort of revisited an aspect of my child, and it was that version of me that felt like I have to be punished, or
Yeah.
when things are going well, something has to happen
Oh
that
yeah.
that takes you
Yeah.
out of that. And it's like it's an interesting. It was it was interesting because that was formulated like from just a very insignificant event when I was taken to a party, and then I just told her to go. I
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
allowed to
Yeah.
stay because I wasn't old enough. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, how could that have been formulated? That belief, how could it have been formulated then? So it's almost like being taken away from the party, um, just when you're wanting to enjoy it. So
Yeah.
it's fascinating how it just lingers with you. Do you
And
find
who even
that
knows?
a
Yeah.
lot of these sorts of emotions come up for the with the people that you're working with as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it comes up with me too, It's like I'm not like that's the one thing I like to just be real about is I'm just another person. I just happen to have found this secret thing in my chest that really is very helpful. But yeah, I struggle just like everybody else. And I don't want to say this in a rude way, but I've interviewed thousands of people, and everybody's their own form of kind of batshit crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like it is what it is. I've observed and I've experienced enough people where we all struggle. We're all human. There's nobody that's above anybody else. We're all just, walking this path together. And so, yeah, man, there's nobody that's above feeling their emotions. There's nobody that's just, you know, maybe Eckhart Tolle. He's like the one guy that I've heard might have just arrived somewhere. But most of the people that I have spent my time with are still trying to figure this out.
That's wonderful that you can, be so open about that because, that's it. We're living a human experience. If we were angels, we would be we'd be, sort of transcended and living on,
Yeah.
the fifth, the sixth, seventh dimension. So what role does measurement and feedback from apps or the a global coherence initiative play in helping
Yeah.
people to stay motivated?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it really it changed my life. So, like I said, when I was struggling, I bought the Inner Balance by HeartMath, and I can send you a link so people listening, if they're interested, can get one. But basically, you wear it, and then it can guide you in rhythmic breathing activities, and you can see how coherent you get. And so for me, what I just started with was this pacer that it has, where you just breathe rhythmically through your heart, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and you see how coherent you get, and it gives you a coherence score. And like the first few times I tried it, my score wasn't really peaking that much, although I did start to feel better, less anxiety, things like that. But then the more I practiced it, I'd see my coherence score go up, and I started to feel a lot better. Now, if I didn't do it and see that my coherence score wasn't that high, I wouldn't have had that feedback to know that I could still go higher, you know? And so I started playing around with the device, and I started wearing it while I was doing different meditations, for example. And I would see, oh wow, during that meditation, it caused me to get the highest coherence score. So let me practice that one more. And so the more I practiced that one, because I knew that that one actually had the most positive effect on me, I started to build this wave of coherence. And then I started to practice coherence, wearing the device, doing different techniques, humming, vagal toning, yoga nidra. Which one of these is making me the most coherent? And then I would do more of that. And I actually started creating my own practices based off what I thought would make me the most coherent. And I actually found, only because I had this device and only because I was able to observe what worked for me, I had my device on one day and I was just looking at my pictures on my phone while flipping through, while breathing rhythmically through my heart. And so I was breathing rhythmically through my heart and I was looking at the pictures on my phone, pictures of my boys, pictures of my friends. And I noticed my heart coherence scores were going crazy. And I was like, wow, there's something in these images that's really creating a powerful energetic in my body. And so I created a what I call a gratitude album, where I took all the pictures on my phone that I thought would bring out the emotion of gratitude, like just pictures that were really joyous and happy. And I created an album out of them. And I started rhythmic breathing through my heart while flipping through the album, and my scores went off the charts. And so I started doing this every day, and that's when I became. And I'm not just saying this to sound like above or anything, but I felt like I was a mystic for a while. Like I really felt, and I haven't done it in a while because I lost my inner balance. I actually had it in my notes to buy a new one. Um, but yeah, it just like I've never felt so good. I never knew I could actually be this high without drugs or alcohol
Wow, wow. And that was literally just looking at pictures of the people and the things that were most important to you.
while breathing through my heart.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. Try it. Anybody, even if you don't have the device.
I love it. So when you're talking about the device, it sounds very
Yeah.
futuristic. What does it look like?
It's just this little it's this little electronic device that you strap onto your body and then you put it on your ear and your ear actually measures your heart rate variability. So rate variability is I would say it's best to listen to HeartMath explain it versus me because it's complex, but it determines how coherent you can become.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
really interesting. I love it.
Yeah.
So how do you envision the future of the Heart Coherence Collaborative and its impact over the next sort of 5 to 10 years? Where do you see it going?
Yeah. Yeah, so my vision for the Heart Coherence Collaborative is basically for it to be like a place where there is all the things all the time for anybody anywhere. And so basically like if there's a yoga instructor, I would like for her to be able to open up my Zoom room and offer yoga at any time. If somebody wants to do a guided meditation, They can open up my Zoom at any time and offer that. If there's somebody that wants to play music, they can open up my Zoom anytime and do that. Um, just different ways to heal and, more community events of heart coherence, more celebration of the heart, more finding ways to help people bring heart into their community. That's something I'm working with an organization right now, a nonprofit, to do. They're going to help us create structure to um, help find ways for us to get this heart coherence practice into the communities and to have our community celebrate doing that as their work of service. Go bring this out in your community. And, if you want to record it, if you want, whatever you want to do, but have fun doing it. So really the next part of this for me isn't necessarily about the content. It's about touching lives through heart coherence. And it doesn't have to be me, the one leading the way. There's somebody that comes along with better ideas. I want them to run with them. Anybody listening, if you want to make the heart coherence collaborative yours, I encourage you, any idea you have, we are entirely open.
That's so lovely that it's so immersive for everybody and not, sort of elitist, which
Yeah,
is
no.
beautiful. So, is there any last words that you have to say to anybody who's watching this conversation today, who may be feeling stuck in their life or, feeling isolated? What would you say to them? What is their logical next step?
Yeah, just if you're out there and you're struggling, I have been exactly where you are right now and felt the exact ways you've felt. And there's a way out, and that way out is through the heart, it's through community, it's through service. And there's a group called the Heart Coherence Collaborative that is ready to help you get out of that hole. I'm here for you. Um, but yeah, come surround yourself with amazing heart centered beings who can love you before you know how to love yourself, and get you back on track. It's not as far away from where you're at as you think. And if I can do it, you can definitely do it. And I look forward to meeting you genuinely. You can send me an email and just let me know who you are, where you're at. And if you're struggling, I'm happy to hop on a call and just listen to you. And yeah, we're all in this together. And I look forward to doing heart coherence with anybody listening that would like to try it.
Wonderful. And again, it's not just for your men's group, it's outside of that. So it's
Anybody,
inclusive of
anybody.
anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hop on Zoom and do a heart coherence with anybody any day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, do you know
Yeah.
what, Kyle? It has been a genuine honor speaking with you today. I've thoroughly enjoyed what you've shared, and it's given me like some hope as well for the stuff that I'm going through at the moment. So I'm definitely going to be hopping onto one of your Zoom sessions and meeting the groups, that
Yeah.
you host. So it has been really uplifting. Your passion for helping people and living from a heart-centered state is really a beautiful reminder that true change begins within and radiates outwards into the world. So, if you'd like to enjoy more of Kyle's work, make sure you do visit the Heart Coherence Collaborative on YouTube and start watching some of the amazing videos on there. It's really uplifting to watch some of these amazing world leaders, within the wellness industry sharing their wisdom as well with Kyle. And join their next 30-day heart coherence challenge as well. So you can find that. I'll put the links in the description below, the heartcoherencecollaborative.com, and make sure you sign up for that. I'm going to be doing it. And
Mhm.
if you like more inspiring interviews like this and tools for spiritual awakening and conscious living, make sure you also head over to dreamtimeacademy.com, dreamtime-academy.com, and grab your copy of the Starseed Ascension guide. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow me on YouTube as well, and share the video if you found it inspiring in any way, shape, or form. So until next time, Kyle, thank you so much for being with us, and I look forward to catching up with you later on down the track.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.